Kiki Classic Rock.
1977 Detroit on Valentine's Day was when it all began. It did not take long for audiences to fall in love with their upbeat, bouncy sound, and his group was perfectly paired to tour alongside the Kinks, Cheap Trick, and the Cars. Their first self-titled album was the first record to kick off the 1980s decade in the UK. Imagine kicking off an entire decade. Co-founder and co-writer of their biggest hits, What I Like About You, and their number one song, Talking in Your Sleep, and also a member of Michigan's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Boys and Girls.
Yeah.
It is Mike Skill of the Romantics.
Hi, Kiki. How you guys?
This is this is great. I am doing fantastic because I'm talking to you, and it's so funny, Mike, because one day, I don't know, it was maybe about a year or so ago, you pop up on social media, and we started following each other. I'm like, this isn't really the guy from the Romantics. So I had to kind of look into you because I'm going, no, sir, he's not following me. And sure as anything, it was you, and I can't believe it. So how did you just all of a sudden show up on social media and say, you know what, I'm diving in?
Well, there's a lot of answers I can give you to all that you've expressed. Well, you know, I have a 22-year-old son. He lives at home. He's home now with everything going on. And, you know, if I have a question or if I'm trying to put something together, he helps me. So that's how I get into that. And we've been, connected for a long time, the internet stuff. It's just I never used it because we were on the road all the time. I mean, the Romantics got together in 77, and we've been on the road ever since. We never broke up or, I was out for a year and a half, almost a year and a half. Then I came back in just before In the Heat record came out. And, so we were getting a lot of, attention in the old-fashioned way. So I had been writing a lot of songs. I'm always writing songs. But we were on the road with Underground Garage with Little Steven and Brad, our drummer, Brad Elvis. We were in the bus, and we're on the bus, and everybody's doing whatever they're doing, and we're talking about writing songs. So we're in the back room putting together songs, and we put together, we had enough music for an EP, but we kept writing after that. So we built a friendship, as far as writing, a kinship. And then these songs had been recorded, that tour that Little Steven thing was in 2005 or 6. And then I went into my little studio in outside of Portland, and it was at my son's school when he was in 7th grade. It was in the music room. I took over the music room. They used it in the day. I used it till 4 in the morning at night.
Really?
And I had a few friends come in and play certain things on it and help me out. I gave them some credit, and these songs I held on to them. And then the year before last, maybe the year before that, 3 years ago, I had met Chuck Occasion. He's a producer in Detroit. He worked with he's worked with everybody. He's remixed singles for Madonna. He worked with Chris Cornell. He was good friends with Chris. And he talked to him the day he passed, that morning.
Wow.
But he's a really good up to the minute producer. He does a lot of work in Detroit. So I sent those tracks to him. I met him, and I said, "Man, I got a bunch of songs." I sent them to him, and he put them all together and remixed them. They were mixed and everything, but he remixed them. I mastered them and started putting them out. I had 67 Riot I wrote quite a while back in that 2000 era, that mid-2000 era. And I grew up in Detroit during the Detroit riots. In 1967, I was on the far east side of Detroit. And there's helicopters and there's Jeeps and tanks downtown and soldiers on the block with their M16s or whatever. And we're talking. We're kids. We're 12 years old or 13 years old. But the TV was real crazy, telling people to get, beware. And we're 5-7 miles away from downtown Detroit. It was really just down there, but it really created fear, a lot of fear, how media does. And that contributes to a lot of movement out of Detroit for people, but to the other side of town. Anyway, I had that idea for a song. I thought I need to write that song. The MC5, the group from Detroit, had Motor City's Burning, John Lee Hooker, and he had a song. I think that was his song, actually. But I had 67 Ride on my mind, and I just started laying down a little bit words, and I had a guitar groove. And the funny thing for me in the studio, if I'm not finished with a song, I go in and things happen in the studio that I can complete something that I might be stuck on. It's almost like I was an art major in school, and I'm going to go off to art college in Detroit, Center for Creative Arts, a really good place. But I look at it like when you're writing, it's kind of like a palette. I have all these ideas from my growing up music. That's on the palette from hearing Chuck Berry, Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis when I was 8 years old, when they were still rocking. And then Detroit, then the Animals, the Rolling Stones, the Kinks, they really, that's what really got it for me. And then the MC5, the Detroit sound just happened right around that same time. The Yardbirds, the Who, and MC5, and the Iggy, the Stooges. And so I have all this really reservoir that I draw from, and it's like I put it on that palette. I come to the studio and I try not to think and try to just and things happen. Yeah. So
now you
came up with these.
You're from Oregon, and I mean, I was talking to Al about it on the show this morning. I said, well, what kind of big animals are in Oregon? I'm just curious.
Well, it's a long story. When I was 3 or 4, my dad worked for the Rich Company. It was Rich's Dairy, who owns the Buffalo Bills now. And my dad this was in the 50s, and my dad and Mom wanted to get out of Buffalo. The snow's as high as, I was born in Buffalo. The snow's as high as a parking meter. Mm-hmm. Every year, it's really cold. And I guess I was 4 years old or something, and my brother and my other 2 brothers, we just, my mom and dad wanted to move to Florida, and he bought, I don't know how he did it, but he built a house. He had a house built, and he went there and he helped him finish it off. And we traveled down there in the middle of the night. I remember leaving, but I was really little, and we spent about till 1961 or 2. I had an older brother who passed away, so it's getting kind of. When we got there, it was like all fun and everything, and the kids running around the streets and barefoot every day, fishing, playing, whatever. And so that happened, and it kind of took the wind out of the sail there. And so we moved to my mom's sister lived in Detroit, and that was early 60s. And right at that time was Motown was just really kicking off with Smokey Robinson writing Shop Around. And I'm hearing that as like 10-year-old, whatever it was, and preteen. And then the Kinks Beatles things happened a few years later. And so I had this reservoir of the music, and I really wanted to play piano when I was young, and we had a piano at one time. But, seeing Ricky Nelson as a kid, at the end of his show, he'd be playing songs, and the guitar player on there, I can't think of his name. I can never think of his name when I'm trying to. The guitar player I really liked. I didn't know I was going to play guitar until later, after the Stones and Beatles. Got a guitar in 1964. Played it for a little bit, tried to play for it, and it was really hard to play because it was kind of a cheap guitar. But we moved down the block from about just a little ways away, and I had put it down, and I got into junior high. So I was in junior high, and I picked it back up. And in one summer, I sat down and taught myself to play, Incense and Peppermints, Blues Magoos, so we ain't got nothing yet, and 13-4 Elevators, You're Gonna Miss Me, Kinks, all the Kinks stuff, Power Generators, all that stuff I was learning. I was teaching myself. I went back to school, and I ended up forming a band with some neighborhood kids. So that was junior high. Yeah. And when I went to high school, around later 60s, I met Jimmy, the drummer for the Romantics, and we goofed around and had a little group, and he had friends, and I left the other group. They were more into it. They had girlfriends. I was all about the music. I just wanted to play music. And,
oh, come on. I kind of read a little bit. You like the girls, too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you're 14, 15, that all came about. But we moved to I went to high school, and then I was just into music. That's all it was happening. We were learning how to write. We played this place called Notre Dame High School on the east side of Detroit. And would you believe it or not, I mean, we're in junior high, and can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I
can. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Something cut from it.
Oh.
This high school, we put Notre Dame was like a really good sports school and all that. It was on the east side, and they were real strong sports. But they would put a canvas on the floor, and they'd have bands like the Underdogs was one of them. Bob Seger, the Frost with Dick Wagner, Savage Grace was a big band. Iggy and the Stooges. They played this school where I was like in ninth grade, and we ended up playing there, opening up for some band. I don't know who it was at the time, but that was the way it was there. There were so many bands and so many places to play. It's such a music city, and at the time, it's a dingy kind of car town. Auto factories making cars.
Yeah,
making cars 24 hours a day, and that seeps in your whole character. The dirty city, the dirty air, people working all night, and it's a working class town, Union Town. So that's where all the hard energy, raw music comes from for Detroiters and for all the bands.
And you're so
Jack White, Jack White.
Yeah, I mean
those cats too.
You're so fortunate that you were around in Detroit and you lived in Detroit at the time that you did, because you really did. You had the Motown sound and you had the rock and roll sound. So you had such a wonderful array of music to really, form what you eventually did. And when you and the other guys got together, you ended up going to Boston, which I absolutely love. And there was a very iconic music venue there called the Rat, where Metallica has played, the Police have played, as well as the Romantics have played. What are your fondest memories of Boston?
Boston in itself, Boston, Rhode Island, the whole East Coast, New York, all the way going right up, is we like history. We draw off that. We like food. There's great food there.
You got that right.
A lot. Clam bisque, the stuff you guys have at Rhode Island, the thinner clam chowder. That's my favorite. And so anyway, we played Detroit we were opening for we got to open. One of the guys that I had played in a band with early in junior high, he started. They were reforming the MC5 in 1976 or 76, 77, and he came over and said, "Mike, you guys want to come play? Open for us?" And the whole punk thing had just happened. And I saw this, the Jam record the Jam record came out. I saw the poster in Melody Maker magazine with the Jam, with their skinny black pants, the black and white shoes, black skinny tie.
Yeah,
the black skinny tie, the shirt, the short hair, and they were running around on stage and bashing it out like the early Who. And I saw that, and then I saw the Play Me Groovies record came out, produced by Dave Edmunds, and that was a throwback right to the Beatles thing. And those two records I grabbed in, I don't know, I got my bike or my car, I forget, but rode over to Jimmy's house, told him, we could do this. We can do this. This is the stuff we grew up on. Because we'd been banging around the city from high school through high school, mostly writing and learning how to write. We weren't a bar band. We weren't into going and playing covers. We did that one summer, but then that whole thing fell apart. But the romantic thing, that's how that happened. It was just I saw that energy, the attitude that was coming back out of England and L.A., the L.A. punk scene, and the New York and Boston punk scene. So that just influenced, that just was really it right there. And so we were writing these pop songs with a real strong Jimmy's attack on the drums, hard-hitting drummer.
Yep.
And always tried to write songs with good choruses and good melodies. We didn't want people leaving our show. We play a live show. We want people singing our songs.
That's right.
We're trying to write songs that they can remember. It was like throwback to that, because you had Kansas and Led Zeppelin and Yes, these really long songs.
Oh yeah.
And the whole punk thing happened. And Ramones, it was back to shorter songs and
shorten it up.
Pop songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he came over and saw us, and I know they thought, oh, they're this weak. punk. They're this week punk pop band, and they were the MC5. They were putting together the MC5, and we had our short hair and our skinny pants and skinny ties, and they were looking like they were more like 1970s. Their long hair and baggy pants, and playing Les Pauls, and just really loud. Really, just different.
Mm-hmm.
It was the generation before.
Right.
We were we looked like the new generation, and it really took off. And the radio guys, it was a showcase. They were showcasing their music. They asked us to play. We came on and we bashed out the songs. We're all over the stage, running, all over, just like the punk bands, running all over the stage to escape the cans of bottles and spit coming at you. We used to practice that.
Dodge the cans and dodge the bottles.
The Damned, all those bands, you'd see them running around on stage to keep away from all that. And
who does that? I'm sorry, I never threw a can or a bottle on a stage ever in my life. I'm just saying.
You know what? It was just we weren't that. We had the attitude, the energy, but we were about songs,
right?
And because we had that Detroit, like you said, the Motown beat and the bass, and then the MC5 raw energy. So we stood out and stuck to our guns. We were really our own little. You hear it from bands all the time. We were our own little club,
Yeah.
We were our own little thing, and we stuck to it.
Now, Mike, were you the quiet one? Because you seem like you were the quiet one. Or am I wrong on that?
I was quiet, but I also stirred up a lot of shit. Oh, excuse me, a lot of
it's okay.
Stuff.
It's good. It's okay.
I stirred up a lot of. It was the punk thing, and I really had this attitude. I wanted to make sure that we were at the forefront, and I didn't want to get stagnant.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to wear the same thing for every record. I didn't want. I thought we shouldn't always. Being an artist, always have a new kind of twist on things each record.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Sorry about that. I was swearing.
No, you know what, Mike? You're good. It's all okay.
We had the attitude. It was just and we jumped on the road. Someone called up. We had these guys, these managers. They managed the big boys. That's the only management experience they had, and they become our managers. The thing about them is they could remember phone numbers and names, and how to count money. But,
yeah, yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. Am I getting long?
No. But I will ask. I will ask you. My next question is: the story goes that the Romantics played their first show and was born on Valentine's Day in 1977. Now your name is the Romantics. You release yourselves to the world on the most romantic holiday of the year. Was that a plan? Did that really happen, or how did that go?
Let's see. So that show happened with that MC5 group, and that's when we got noticed.
Okay.
We started. We were asked back, and we had a 45 that was coming out. We got asked back, and we came back 2 weeks later and played with. I'm going to forget his name. I'll think of it later. Willie DeVille. We were opening for Willie DeVille, and then our manager somehow. There was a show going on at Pontiac Silverdome, the football stadium, and it was Steve Miller, Jay Giles, Peter Frampton, and we got on the bill at the big 75,000 seat stadium. We opened the show. We had our attitude and our drive. We didn't get booed off stage. It was a success. It was an early show, 7:30 or so. It was probably 7,000 maybe people in there. By when the other bands came on, it was packed full, 50,000 people. But that was the biggest show we ever played for, so the biggest crowd. So we succeeded in doing right, and then from there we got a new agency, and we started. We'd open for like Cheap Trick, and we'd open for Ted Nugent when he was just kind of just loud on the guitar instead of loud on the mouth. But and so it took off. It really took off. We were opening the Gora in Ohio for the Talking Heads.
That's
and,
crazy.
All the new bands that came around, we were jumping on shows. The Police. We got right before the record came out. I think we opened a week tour, the first Police tour. We were on for a week.
Oh my God!
Week on,
amazing.
Then we went off on our own, and then we came back. I think another week or so. It was the Police. When they're little clubs, you're talking to 100 people, 150 people.
I mean, how Right. You're saying the police said they were just really kicking off their career at that point.
Yeah.
But Steve Miller, Peter Frampton, Jay Giles, I mean, they were huge at that point. So that first show in Pontiac, Michigan, what was going through your head when you're playing next to these icons of rock and roll?
Well, well, you know what? We had the attitude and the energy. We had a good belief in what we were doing. And, you know, you get nervous or whatever. I mean, if you think about it too much, you try not to think about it. But you go on and we were well rehearsed. So if you're well rehearsed and you're going to do something like that, there's less possibility of something messing up.
Yeah.
And you're talking about Peter Frampton, and you're talking about Jay Giles, one of the best bands live, and we didn't get booed off, and we made our point. You know, we came out, did our show, made our point, and we carried on. And next thing you know, we're traveling to Boston, playing the Rathskeller. I'm not sure it was the first time, but it was I think 77 or 78. We were driving from Detroit. We get to the Turnpike after New York, and it starts snowing. It didn't stop snowing until we got to Boston. It was like 24 inches of snow.
Oh, geez.
And we couldn't get in a van, and the roads are closed.
Oh, hey, that was the blizzard of '78 then.
Can't come in, can't come out. We pull up. I don't know if it was National Guard or just some parking people.
Yep.
They said, nope, you have to turn around and go back.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
It was a big parking lot. So we just, turned around, drove back about 100 feet, and then we turned and went in the out. And we went to the hotel. We just kept driving, went to the hotel, the Howard Johnson's in Kenmore Square, and got in and told them we're there. Everything was shut down. We told them we'll play, if you want, Friday. And we went and played Friday. We had about 10 people. They asked us to play more. For the rest of the weekend, we played Saturday and Sunday, and Saturday was 25 people. And
oh, my gosh.
And there's a guy, Oedipus, was on the radio. He's a DJ, a punk DJ. He started talking about it, and we held about 250 people, I think. But it was a really cool vibe. I mean, it was one of the best clubs. It's been there forever, since the 60s.
Yep.
And that Sunday, it was packed, jam-packed, butt to elbow, you know?
Oh, man.
And we did the show. And
how cool is that?
That's the determination we had.
You know, it sounds like off the bat, though, you guys you knew what you wanted. You were going to go for it. And that was that. And I love that. I love that that's how your attitude was, because you keep bringing up that word attitude. And I think, like anything in life, you have to have a positive attitude. You guys had a very positive vibe about you as well. And you just had the drive to get the job done. You knew what you wanted, and you went and you got it.
You're totally right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what that's what bands had to do back then. And it was like, when you have the look, the guys we had the look, we had with the music, and we had the show. So all it was a matter of just getting to the place to play.
Yeah.
And it took 3 years, and then we got signed to Emperor Records. Before that, my friend who's passed away, Robert Matthew, a great rock photographer from Detroit, he was really close with Cheap Trick. So we did a lot of shows when they were in our area, Detroit area, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Chicago. And we jump on the Cheap Trick show early on. And Bunny, the drummer, former drummer, he would collect tapes from pop bands, really pop bands, really, there weren't many of those bands. They were just getting together at that time with the Nerves and playing the Groovies, and he would collect tapes. So we gave Robert a tape, and he gave it to people from CBS Records, the A&R department. And we started hearing from them. Our manager started talking to them, but it didn't come together yet. Some people from Capitol were interested. From that very first show, that Valentine's Day show, MC5. It was on Valentine's Day. We had named ourselves without thinking that, but...
so that was a coinky-dink.
Yeah. And anyway, I forget where I was at. But,
and it's fine. So 1977, 3 years later.
Getting signed, I was talking about.
Yeah, but 3 years later, January 4th of 1980, the Romantics have the very first album to kick off the entire decade. I mean, who can say, well, you guys can say you kicked off a decade that we all want to go back to. I mean, do you sit back and think about these things and go, God, for crying, I was in that. That was me.
I know. It's amazing when you think about it. You don't, the first few years, and I was in the band started the band 76, 77, 78. I had a bunch of songs. I gave everybody cassettes. 3 or 4 of those songs on that 5 or 6 song cassette got on records. I was coming up with guitar parts and a lot of the music and What I Like About You and Jimmy with What I Like About You. And but where was I going with that? Those songs, some of those songs on the album, we ended up. Oh gosh, I was going to go into that. There was we were going to the studio. Someone suggested Miami. That was September 1980, I believe. I think September 1980, and we were down in on North Miami with the old 1950s hotels. All those cool 1950s hotels that are gone now. We get up at 9 o'clock. Get up and go to the meeting room. We'd have our bagels and cream cheese and our coffee. We'd off to the studio at 11:30. And then we back then you'd take a week. You could take a week to do drums, just to do snares, kicks, just get the drums right. So it was like a long, you took time to get. That's after pre-production in Detroit, but we each other's songs apart, put them back together. But anyway, we finished all that, and we went to a studio called Coconut Studios. Hurricane David happened.
Oh, jeez.
We moved our stuff out of those skimpy little 50s hotels. We moved into the studio, slept in the studio, finished the record off. I think we didn't think anything much about What I Like About You. We just had a bunch of songs that we really liked. And, and I don't know how that happened by chance that it came out on, maybe it was the department, the art department or the promotion department in CBS. They put it out on around Valentine's Day. And I was going to say, just before that, with the punk scene and all the new music that was coming up, you also had Staying Alive. So you had this dance thing going on. 77, this whole
I like that
non-rock and roll thing.
Yeah.
So when we fit perfectly at the time because you had the punk wall thing, and there's hundreds of bands in Detroit and everywhere that didn't get signed. That were really good bands that came out at that time. They didn't get signed, no one knows of them, but we were lucky. And we were part of a thing when our video came out. It stood out because it's straight ahead rock and roll. Straight, like I said, they had the attitude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were on our way. I think we were on our way to Australia or something. We were either Australia or England, and we had to cancel. They had asked us. We were going to do Saturday Night Live. We never did that.
Oh,
we couldn't do it. Yeah, we couldn't do it. Something came up.
Dang! Really?
Yeah. Yeah, Jimmy's. This had nothing to do with it, but Jimmy's cousin, I think, worked there. She didn't have the power to do anything, but the record was taken off, and the label was in New York, and Nat Weiss, head of our label, he was a lawyer for the Beatles. Their what do you call it? Merchandise and songs in the U.S. So he was friends with their manager, and whose name I'm forgetting at the moment.
Now, Mike, just to interject here, you guys are doing great. You were
interrupt me whenever you can. Go ahead.
You guys, no, it's all good. But I just have so many questions for you, and I want to make sure I ask you them because I'm really excited. So, you did leave the band though. Everything was going great, and then you left for a little bit. What made you leave after things were going great?
I had that rebel attitude, especially with the punk scene and all that. I was about, we put here's really a big part of it. The first record comes out, 3 songs are released, When I look in your eyes, tell it to Carrie and what I like about you. They don't crack the top 50. Maybe what I like about 47 or 74. They aren't big hits. They did good. They did well.
Mm-hmm.
But the label and management started saying, we need a new record. And it's just been out a year.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent 3 years of our life, and we haven't been to England yet, or London, or Europe. And, you know, looking back now, it was really stupid on the part of management. It really should have went over to Europe for 3-4 weeks, played dates, and then came back and then looked at what was happening. But to take the band, do a tour, a good tour. We had done our first American tour, and then to tell us that we got to come up with a new record. I had to come up with new songs in a matter of months, and it really was harrowing. I mean, you know, you're kind of like, I'm getting into it, and I'm doing it, and I'm getting it, and the songs came out, but it was really stressful. I mean, stressful on the band. I think it was just too much, and I didn't learn the songs as well. I was trying to improvise on stage more than I should have, and I had just a rebel attitude, and I started questioning the management about royalties and ASCAP and you know our money.
Yeah,
and I think that right there. Someone didn't like some things I said, and the management didn't like things I was going after. I don't know. I don't really know. That's my... And so I was out and fired. We played Australia, and the shows were pretty good. They were good, but I was trying to improvise, and, you know, I wasn't with the program. My head wasn't in a good spot, I think, as far as staying... You don't know when someone tells you, God, you guys are great. You hear it over and over every night.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who's lying or who's telling you the truth.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know, you know. So that got to me. I think that got to me. And one of the best things that ever happened that year off, I went home and I got grounded. I've been grounded ever since. And I still have the same vibe and same feeling that I had the first days of the band and the band coming back in the band.
But what made you get grounded, though? Like, what?
Straight my head out.
What? And, how did that work for you, though? What made you? Because I think getting grounded when you're on the, you're at the top of your game, you're playing in front of thousands of people. What was that thing that made you say, you know what? What am I doing?
Well, it's a bad part of management. Should have brought everybody together and sat us down. It wasn't like that. We got home from Australia, and I got a call from management that I was out.
But you had a...
I'm the main, I'm one of the main characters, right?
Which is weird. It's weird to me because, you're the co-founder of the band, but you left and then you ended up going back. So what fixed you? Like, in other words, how did you... What was that thing that said, you know what, I'm going to be different?
What I wanted to do. I had a lot of offers to do things with bands.
Okay.
Pez bands. Badfinger guys called me at some point. They had some manager, and they were living in Michigan for a minute. Mm-hmm. And Pez band out of Chicago. Just different bands. I don't want to name any band, a bunch of them, but all of them. But I just wasn't ready. I don't think I was ready because I was, the way I wrote the songs and the way we came together with music at the time was kind of a hard thing to replace in a way.
Yeah.
The way we were coming up with it. But then I got out of it, and I actually, in a year and a half, I had a group of guys, one guy from a band called Rhythm Corps, you may have heard of him. He had a song called Common Ground in the 80s or 90s. He was in a band I was putting together. So I had a thing, and then I got a call from them that they needed me to come back in the band. They wondered if I wanted to come back in the band. Since then, I found out that they were told they need to get me back in the band or get someone to write songs, come in and write songs. Because they put together a record, and the record didn't do much. Not that it just wasn't the Romantics. Mm-hmm. Whether it's good or bad, it just wasn't the Romantic sound. So I came back, I played bass and guitar writing, and live on bass, and switched over to guitar. Let's see, I don't know what else.
So you go back to the band. You go back to the band. you're on tour again with even more iconic artists. You toured with Joan Jett, Loverboy, Cheap Trick, like you said, many, many times, the late and great Eddie Money. Tell us about one of the tours that you did at that point, the second time you went back, that you worked with someone that just blew your mind. You were in awe of them.
Well, first of all, you have to remember, I had the same attitude. I got back the same attitude I had when I first was in the band.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started getting to writing, these songs were what the band needed, and they were right up the alley. What changed was when the band first came out, we were the raw rock and roll, straight ahead, two albums. First, second album are really good, straight ahead raw, kind of punky, kind of pop. But what happened was, as that year and a half went by, this thing called the New Romantics things out of England happened, with Spandau Ballet, Duran Duran, not so much XTC, but they were one of the bands I really loved, and Squeeze. So I was listening to all the stuff in Detroit. I knew the DJs. I was hanging out with the DJs. Really good radio. All that new music from Detroit, from London was coming out, and I'm listening to Brian Ferry. We always loved Brian Ferry and Roxy in the early days of Romantics. In fact, the name Romantics comes from Brian Ferry, I think, mentioning the word Romantics in an interview about 50 times, and Jimmy picked up on it, I think. But anyway, so we had this group of songs, and I was creating this stuff, and it had, when we first came out, it was about rawness and in your face.
Yeah.
The band was well produced and still in your face as far as attitude and energy. But what happened was the production jumped up to a whole other level. English bands were really getting produced really well. Duran Duran, their productions, other songs. So that's what we landed. That's where we landed. So it's rock songs with about more of a production, more of a producer's record, I guess you'd call it. A little more on the glitz, I think.
Yeah.
So the stages got bigger. Those guys were playing, when I was out, they were still playing the clubs and opening and that, but when the record came out, it started taking off. We jumped right on the good tours. We started getting the good tours. And, yeah.
So you, Rich Cole, Jimmy Marinos, and Wally Palmer, you guys are the original Romantics. You got signed, like you said, to Emperor Records. You record that first album, and we all know that the biggest hit to come from that album is What I Like About You, a song that makes everyone, even today, just get up and bounce around. So you, Wally, and Jimmy wrote that song. Tell us how you guys wrote that song and how it came together, how that song came to be.
Me and Jimmy, all the songs I write, especially back then, I always wanted to write like 3-chord songs, like Van Morrison, or Dylan's a little bit more involved. But simple chords, rhythms, and I liked the idea of like Louie Louie and You Really Got Me, and songs that had 3 chords and were really good garage type songs. And that's where What I Like About You comes from. It's 3 chords. I was living at my dad's house in Still, and I don't know. I just had my acoustic guitar, and I went outdoors and came up with a chord pattern. It's not that complicated. It was just my rhythm playing on the guitar is really fit well with Jimmy on drums. His feel. So when I come up with something, I go, "Hey, how about this?" And we know right away if that feel, because he has a certain kick drum backbeat. So I brought it to rehearsal. We were in the fall. It was in the fall. It was 1977 or 78. I brought the song in. I had the verse music, and it was the first time I got there. One of the first times I got there on time, early. My mom dropped me off. I didn't have a car. It was in the early evening. It was getting cold. And we went in. I went in, and Jimmy was there. And we would have these rehearsal halls. And they were always like, we set them up like stages. We set the lights up. Jimmy always had to have the lights over his head, and we always had the lights looking like a stage and everything. So I went in, it was dark, and just the lights were on him. I go, "Hey, man, I got this idea." I know we talked for a minute, but I said, "We got this idea." And then I go, "Check this out." And then he played it, and automatically, just me and him, we connected, and he starts blowing out lyrics, verses, And so I was coming up with all this stuff, and by the time Wally and Rich got there, the song was 99% done.
Wow.
And but I have a connection with drummers. I started banging on pans and pots of pans, and I played a little bit of drums when I was really young. So the right hand or rhythm hand on guitar player is what I feel is like one of the most important parts of a player, is that rhythm and that how to go from rhythm to a musical interlude or leads or licks as they call them. So your right hand is really important on a rhythm guitar, and I still have that. So yeah,
So
we just had a connection there, and they come in and the song took off. I'm going, how about? I was thinking in terms of Mitch Ryder had a song called Little Latin Loopy Loo, and in that song it has hey, dum bum 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 bum, hey bum 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 bum, talking about my baby. And Yardbirds had over, under, sideways, down. They had hey, bum ba dum ba dum ba dum hey. And so the hey thing was like, why not try that? So it worked.
And who made the choice that Jimmy was going to sing that song?
Well, that's because he came up with it when I brought it in.
Okay.
He had the vibe.
And
we all sang lead. When we were doing shows back then, every guy sang 2 or 3 or 4 songs in a set. It was just until later that the producer zeroed in on Wally or Jimmy, and we were kind of like pushed aside a little bit.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
We were all singers. We all sang,
Now, who made the whole clothing decision of wearing leather suits? And I need to know where your leather suit is today. Is it in a museum or is it in a shadow box?
Leather started with vinyl, and before vinyl was resale shop. We'd go to the resale shop. This is when we did that first show. Go to the resale store, Salvation Army, and we buy up all the old greaser clothes, the rocker clothes from the 50s and 60s, peg leg pants, skinny ties, skinny shirt collars, skinny lapels on the coats, iridescent jackets. They shine different colors.
Yep.
The first show came up. We needed something to wear. We went to Salvation Army, and me and Jimmy, and then we looked in the window. It's weird. This window. We looked in the window. And there's these suits in the window. They're orange, like gabardine suits. Not gabardine. Iridescent suits. And we went in, and there was like 20 of them. I don't know if they were like waiter suits or some kind of wedding or something. But we found 4 small sizes, and then we had them taken in really so the way we liked them, really, tighter and.
Well, you had to have them tight, right?
Sexy.
I mean,
they're sexy. Kinda. They're a little baggy, but so we found those suits, and we wore them to that show, and that we had the look, we had the sound, the music, and we just kind of blew everybody away on that first show. And then we started playing clubs, and we had a lot of other stuff we wear. Sometimes black jeans, but always peg leg pants and cool shoes, pointed shoes, and pointed beetle boots. We had a bunch of beetle boots. Sometimes leather suit coats or jackets.
You still have the cool shoes, though. You still rock the cool shoes, Mike.
Yeah, me and my son, we got a lot of shoes.
More than your wife?
What's that?
More than your wife?
Probably more.
Oh, my. Really? Well, at least you admitted it, though. That's good.
Yeah. In Detroit back in the day, there was a place called Granny Takes a Trip. It was a boutique out of London. And they used to have the coolest clothes. It was like in 1967 or 8.
Yeah.
So that's when it started back then. Anyway, so we were wearing these clothes from the Salvation Army. We'd sweat our butt off on stage. The things would fall apart, sweat. The shirts would be ruined. The jackets would be ruined. The pants would be ruined. So we decided, what about, Roxy Music, and they had that look, and what about some latex or some spandex or some vinyl? So we settled on vinyl.
Oh, my God. You had a sweat in that. Oh, my gosh.
We got white vinyl.
Oh,
we got reddish vinyl, and then we got black with white polka dot vinyl.
Oh, my God. All right. So tell me, where are your suits today?
Those are in my storage space in the vault.
Nice. Nice.
And, the original Suits was in the Rock Hall of Fame for a while. They had, they were going to do a Detroit. They promised to do a Detroit, setup, and they never did. But they put the bass drum, Romantic's bass drum, and they had my suit there, and that kind of thing, and some photos. But it was really small. But
that's cool, though. That is so cool. Now, Mike, you guys were on Dick Clark a couple of times. I really wish I had the chance to meet him, and you were fortunate enough to be on his show. Now, American Bandstand, this is what everybody lived for every Saturday. Now, the second time you guys were on the show in 1983, it seemed like you were all so laid back. But the first time you were on Dick Clark's American Bandstand, I could feel like, yep, you had the attitude, but it's like, oh my gosh, we're on American Bandstand right now.
Yeah, that's right.
What was that moment like for you?
Well, it's like 7, you get up at 6:37 in the morning to be there. And we're a rock band, we don't want to get up at 7. You had to be there, and you met his wife. His wife takes you in and shows you everything where you're going to be. They set up the equipment's all there, and then they have the crowd goes nuts for you, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but you try to get into it. And one thing, I used the double neck guitar.
Right.
Tom Petty used one later like it. Actually, when we came out, Rickenbacker guitars, hardly anybody was playing Rickenbacker guitars. It was all Les Pauls and SGs and Marshall amps. But the new punk bands and young bands were coming out playing Rickenbackers and Silvertone and Airline, real cheap guitars through box amps. It was different. It was a different attitude. So I went to, we called Rickenbacker up. Look, we use Rickenbacker. And they wouldn't give us any guitars. They were kind of skippy on that. But I did get to borrow a double neck. And it was, I'm not that big, but it was a pretty big guitar. I used it on When I Look in Your Eyes.
Wow.
But, Dick Clark was super cool. You know how he goes way back to the 50s or mid-50s.
Mm-hmm.
And in Detroit, we had TV shows like that, too. We had Swingin' Time. So we were kind of versed in what it was all about. And,
right.
It was really cool. I think we were on there 3 or 4 times.
Gosh, I mean, like how, gosh, you're on with Dick Clark, for God's sakes. I mean, that is amazing.
I know. And he's such a cool dude, really. He knew all the black music and the black musicians and the soul music, and he knew the rhythm and blues.
He knew everything.
Rock and roll,
yeah.
Yeah, he was right on top of it.
Yeah.
On top of it.
Now,
what a great guy.
You were young. You were what? In your young, early 20s when all of this happened 20s. For you. So you had thousands of screaming fans, including many, many screaming girls. Give us a crazy groupie story.
Crazy groupie story?
Yeah. I know you got one.
Tell that. I can tell that. It would be thing about it would be a crew guy.
Is it really? It's that juicy?
Well, you get people that want to come backstage, and you get them want to follow you around, and we're pretty serious about making sure we didn't drink on stage. We no beer bottles. No, it was really about a clean stage. It was a show, and so it the same thing went on backstage. It was pretty much we were all pretty straight-laced, nothing much going on in the early days.
Really? Wow, I'm shocked. I'm kind of shocked because you look like you had that little, the fire in your eye.
I met my wife on the road.
See?
In the 80s, after Any Heat came out, we were touring with the Tubes, and she was dancing with the Tubes.
No, wait a minute. All right, back it up for a second. So she was dancing with the Tubes, and you're like, hey, I like you. And then what happened?
Well, let's see. We were on the road. We played Kalamazoo at Red Wings Arena, and it was the first show of the tour with the Tubes. And I think it was it was either 2 weeks or a month. And it was probably a couple of weeks, and then we added more. But it ended up like a few months, and then we were out like 3 months, I think, with them. But it was her and Cheryl and Michelle, who's married to Todd Rundgren right now.
No kidding.
They were both. They're from Portland, and they went to L.A. and they did a lot of work in L.A. On movies and videos. She's in. What's the three girls that sang, three black girls that sang.
The Supremes? Let's see. We have the Supremes. We have, Beyonce was in a group. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm so excited. The song.
The Pointer Sisters.
Yeah, Pointer Sisters. She was in their videos and.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever. So she ended up getting a job at the Tubes. She was down there doing other things, script girl and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, we met, and then we just kind of hung around. And she went off the road, and we went off the road. And I looked her up later that summer or fall. And I think I may have come to Portland, and that's when we stuck together from then.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
1983 or 4.
Wow, so you guys have been married a long time. She's been through a lot with you.
Well, yeah, and then we were on the road that whole time, and I was on the road in L.A., getting ready for doing road work with Tubes. And then, so she had an injury on a commercial and then got out of dancing. She used to teach dance in Portland at the university here, but she used to do polys and all that kind of stuff, stage stuff.
That is such a cute story. I did not know that. I love it.
And Todd Woodgood's wife, Michelle, she was her partner. Yep. And so we've been together that long, and I have a son, 22 years old, and he's a photographer, and he plays piano, and he now is an engineer in my studio, and he's a really good journalist and writer.
Oh, so he's a journalist as well. And what is the one thing that you tell your son to, like, what's the biggest life lesson you give to him?
Oh, God, I think that's all in the early days. Now I can't tell him anything. In the early days, it was just really an example, being an example of playing music. He'd see me on stage. He'd come to the shows. He'd dress in his little black leather suit and then a vinyl suit or whatever. And the Tube shows. He went on stage with the Tubes when he was about 5 or 6 years old.
Oh,
singing the last song, and so he learned. He was in piano, and he really was good at piano. He didn't want to do the recitals. He got tired of doing the recitals, so he just stopped that for a while. Now he just plays on his own. But he got a scholarship for journalism at George Fox University, which is a really really good university out here. And from that, he got graphic arts and photography. So he's a photographer for the Portland Parks and Rec, and with a magazine called Willamette Week, which is like a rock and roll alternative paper.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so. He kind of followed in your footsteps for sure.
Yeah, well, he's definitely creative. Yeah, we're a creative family.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, painting. I painting and drawing in my early days, and I'm still writing music and all these songs. 67 Riot.
Yeah, you are.
Not My Business. My Bad Pretty. I've been releasing songs. So.
Now, I do have to ask you before we, wrap it up in a few here. Your fourth album, In Heat, that held your biggest hit, Talking in Your Sleep. That stayed at number 3 for 3 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100. It was number 1 in Canada, number 1 on Billboard's dance chart. You, Wally, and Jimmy in Australia. You, Wally, and Jimmy wrote it along with Kaz Candler and producer Peter Solly. How did this song come to be, and why do you think it was more of a charting hit than What I Like About You? What do you think that thing was?
Well, like I said before, the new romantic thing, now the English happening, so this was a dance song. We figured that, like, if the Rolling Stones could do that kind of like Miss You, or those kind of dance songs, we could do that with the right group. But I came up with the bass line. See, when I'm talking right now, my words are my words. So that bass line is my bass line. We wouldn't have that song without that bass line.
Yeah.
Regardless of, we were in pre-production for the album. I showed them, we jammed, we just had the basic bass of da-da-dum, ba-da-dum, 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 ba-da-dum. And we would just jam and groove on it and try to write lyrics in it. We kind of set it aside. And then we got to Florida. We were at Criteria Studios now, the professional big cool studio. James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Allman Brothers recorded there. And the last song, we finished 10 songs, I think, and the producer goes, well, we need one more song. I go, oh. What about that song, that thing you had, Skill, Mike? What do you think? So I go, well, I don't know. It's something. And so I played the part, and then we pulled the keyboard. The producer was a keyboard player, so we took the bass line, we went into the control room, and Jimmy started thinking about lyrics. Jimmy wrote the lyrics. I think he was going to sing it. And Pete, being the writer that he is, we worked together. We put our heads together. Pretty much me, Pete, Jimmy, and then I came up with a little hook. Cuz was trying to come up with a little hook thing. And I kind of like, well, how about this and how about that? It's kind of like throw back and forth on the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's classic Skill guitar part. But, yeah, we all came together. We pretty much 4 or 5 of us came together and got the song, and then we laid it down, and we didn't know. We had been going out to the clubs in Miami, and all you heard was Rick James.
Really?
So, Rick James and all those other stuff. So the production, I think, in a lot of ways was influenced by Rick James, because if you listen to a song and you go from the top down, the highest guitar part is really the highest, thinnest guitar part. And then you drop down, you have the next guitar part. The sound color goes from top to bottom, and that's what those kind of songs are. You have the high end to the low end, and everything filled in between. That's a good producer. He did a really good job on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fun song.
Yeah, and the guy that sweeps the floors there, he goes, man, I know good songs. He goes, I know good songs. I picked James Brown songs. I picked Aretha songs. Because that song's a hit. And we go, I don't know. We don't know. You were, and next thing you know, the song took off.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Now, in 1984, your drummer, Jimmy Marino, who you had been friends with since you were a teenager, he left the band. Are you in touch with him? Like, where is he? Because you can't find him.
It's been about... I think last year I talked to him. No, before last year, probably. Spring. I'm not sure. It's been about a year or so. He's in Detroit. Not playing with anybody.
Really?
Just surviving what's going on these days.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, we did, when we were on the road with Talking to Steve, we were on the road for a straight 11 months. We came home for Christmas and some other holiday. I can't remember which.
Yeah.
So we were on it for 11 months, and then things got to him. He walked off the bus and didn't talk to us, and I don't know what happened. If the management were kind of like going, well, we don't need him. I don't know. I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
But no one spoke to him. I go, we talked to him. Did you speak to him? I don't know if it was kind of planned, or I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It would be kind of cool if, Jimmy came back. Just saying.
Yeah.
I
haven't spoke with him. My friend Robert Matthew, who passed away, the photographer, he goes, Skill, before he passed away, 2 weeks before, he goes, Mike, make me a promise. He goes, make me a promise you'll go write some songs and work with Skill again, or work with Jimmy again.
Yeah.
And I had to say yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to say yeah. So I haven't done that yet. Who knows if it's going to happen?
I know. I mean,
I'm really concentrating on my songs right now.
Absolutely. Yep. And speaking of your songs, you released your single 67 Riot, which we talked about earlier, with MC5 guitarist Wayne Kramer. And the song definitely has a 60s vibe to it. That's what I think. And the song, it's about...
You're right. Spot on. It has that kind of... revolution thing on it, from like the MC5 and Stir Up Some Trouble, Stir Up Some Attitude, and I just had that first lick, that first guitar, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-da, and next thing it started spreading its wings in the studio, and I finished it off. I got the lyrics. I'm really proud of the lyrics. It was a tough one to do. Over time, it came together. I approached... can't think of her name, Catherine. She was doing the Riot, 67 Riot movie. And we approached them with the song, but they liked the song, but they said they were going with Motown music and all that. So
yeah.
it didn't make it. But I got Wayne Kramer on there, and that's one of my idols on guitar.
That's crazy.
65.
Crazy. And you also released My Bad Pretty, which I love, and we got your rock and roll.
Thank you.
And you did a sweet, I love My Bad Pretty. I really do. It has a really nice vibe to it. You did a sweet video.
Got an easy, slinky vibe to it.
Yeah, I enjoy that one. And you did a really nice video for We Got Your Rock and Roll. It was just you talking, and you talked about how it was a time when we all had the music. That's all we had. Now, the music, let's face it, is what has gotten us through the last year. Yeah. And we say it here all the time. We say, thank goodness for the music. What is the major thing you have learned through the past year and a half?
Well, somewhere, I don't know who said it or who believes it or I believe it. You don't have a civil or a proper society without art and creativity.
Right.
And you can take that all the way back to the Greeks and beyond, Egypt. And we're just music that came out, these 6 songs, 67 Riot, Dark Side of Your Love, Carrie Got Married, who was written by our drummer's wife. She did the lyrics, I helped her with I did the guitars. Not My Business, that was me, all me, and My Bad Pretty. So there's 5 songs. I'm releasing another one coming up.
Nice.
A little change of pace. But they're all available on Bandcamp.com and MikeSkill.com. What's that?
Oh, I didn't. No, it's all you, Mike.
Spotify, all the streaming services. So those songs are like 6 songs out. Just go to Mike Skill and you'll see all those songs. My Bad Pretty is great. You're right.
I love it.
I got a lot of play. I'm getting a lot of good reaction on that.
Now, everybody, you can follow Mike on Instagram and Twitter at Mike J. Skill and The Romantics Rock. Go and follow them. And what is one thing, Mike, that you can look back on in the 70s and the 80s during, the Romantics height, that you can look back and go, you know what, I'm so thankful I was a part of that?
Yeah, I mean, I wake up, it's cool that like I was saying, going home for that year and a half and getting back out, it put me I got right in the frame of mind to get where I want to be, and it's never changed since then. Working class player, straight ahead guitar parts. Don't try to overthink it. Once I start overthinking, I have to set it down, and so it's just I feel I've kept my head together. So and that's the way good things happen. I mean, you can't. I don't think bad production can hurt a good song. A good song is going to be a good song. So you just keep moving forward and writing songs, and that's what I'm going to do. And who knows? I'm not sure when Romantics will have a new record. I've proposed the idea. And I'm just taking this as it comes, and the songs are happening. People are liking them, and I've got a good group of bandmates in Detroit, separate from Romantics. Some guys. One guy was with Dead Boys for a while. Ricky Rat, and a couple other guys, and so we've done some benefits. I've done some benefits. I did Detroit Music Awards, and but I haven't really gone out and made money yet on a tour. But then I've got the guys I play with over here in Portland, so I could actually probably do the Midwest of the East Coast with those cats in Detroit, and do the West Coast with these guys. So who knows? I'm going to end up with one group of fellows that it's going to be kicking butt on stage.
That's right. And we're all going to be we're going to be there to support you. And Mike, I thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for being my virtual buddy on social media. I appreciate that.
Oh, cool.
And all of the very, very best with your new music, and maybe someday you, Wally, Rich, and Brad Elvis will make it to Rhode Island. Get your some clam chowder, and we can all enjoy some music by the Romantics. And we thank you for your music, Mike. You rock.
Thank you. You're so sweet, and you've got great music, great show. Stay online with me.
Absolutely, Mike. I'll be there to support you.
Beautiful.